Small towns, big gossip equals friction. Add a few more characters, and you get frictional characters. Today's book review is going to be over Frictional Characters, written by Elizabeth Spann Craig. Now, this was a public library find for me. It's a contemporary murder mystery. It was published in 2022, and it is actually book number 6 in a 12-book series. So yes, I did find and read this book completely out of order. If you have any idea on how I find my books, you'd clearly understand why. I did only find 3-word oddities in this story, but it was a simple read, very comfortable, cozy murder mystery. So let's talk about the story a little bit. This story takes place in a small town called Whitby, North Carolina. It opens with our main character and protagonist, Anne Beckett, trying to sleep in on her day off. Her morning is quickly unravels when Mr. Wilson calls, quite distraught, to request that she come pick him up. Now, Anne Beckett is a librarian, and Mr. Wilson is the library director and her boss. So he tells her that, hey, there's been an incident and I'm a little too shaken up to drive. Could you come pick me up? She obliges and she helps him out. No complaint. It's Mr. Wilson. And he just so happens to be a great boss. So she arrives at a local ranch house and the scene of an emergency. Emergency vehicles, police everywhere, neighbors standing on the curb. And then after speaking with the police detective in charge, Mr. Wilson comes over and explains to Anne that he had found the body of an acquaintance of his, Mr. Jonas Merchant. Now, Jonas Merchant is our would-be antagonist. He's recently returned to town and happens to be a bit of a muckraker. He's found dead. And the list of potential suspects starts with Mr. Wilson. But Jonas was deeply unliked throughout the whole town. His death was an incident of no love lost, really. And this story, which I really do appreciate the most important part of, is chock full of characters and seems to be more about the characters and how they live in such a small community together. There's Anne, of course, Anne Beckett, then Fritz, her cat, Mr. Wilson, her boss, Luna, co-worker, Mona, which is Luna's mother and just so happens to be Mr. Wilson's girlfriend, Flora Merchant, which is the sister of Jonas Merchant, Jonah's neighbor, Reggie, who is one of the actual characters. He has neighbors on either side and across the street, but Reggie is one of the main characters. And, of course, the ladies of the knit club, Ted, the mechanic, Grayson, who is Anne's boyfriend, and so many more. It's strong with and steeped in nostalgia. For anyone that has ever lived in a small town, this story will find a warm place in the hearts of those readers. So, Mr. Wilson starts off as the main suspect. However, the list of potential suspects continues to grow exponentially as the story progresses until a true suspect is unidentifiable. With our main character working in the town's public library, a lot of action and scenery is sponsored there at the library. Much of the detecting takes place amongst its patrons as they gossip and tell of the things that they suspect they know about Jonas to each other. So Anne Beckett, the librarian, is positioned in Grand Central. So these investigators read books, socialize, knit, and spill the beans. It's critical to know that with all the sharing of all their little tidbits and pieces, Anne is smack dab in the middle and is therefore able to piece these bits together until she is able to gather enough information to conclude to who may be at fault. Now, the story can be read as a standalone story, even though it's part of a series. There's enough information about the characters, there's detail that no additional information than what is contained in this particular story is actually needed to be able to enjoy the story. You don't feel like you've missed out on anything. There's not a lot of violence, not a lot of gore, and there's no descriptive darkness. Easy enough to believe that if you want to find yourself in the middle of Gossip Central, why not a public library in a small town? So it's easy to believe, it's easy to get involved with the story. And of course, the pet cat is a nice touch. I like pets, just don't want to own one. So I was able to live a little vicariously through the stories I read, like this one, with a strong feline co-actor, co-partner. However, there's not a lot not to like about this, however, but it is a cozy novel and perhaps a little too cozy. If you're not into gossipy characters, excessive speculation, or nosy busybodies with secrets, it may not be a story for you. Gossip doesn't really equate to investigations, although it is a common way to introduce unknown information that can turn an investigation. But here, it's just way too common. The story description will lead us to believe that our main character is trying to track down the killer and clear Mr. Wilson's name all on her own. Basically, she is just discussing and finding out how other people interacted with our murder victim. So without much real investigation taking place, it would seem that our librarian could solve crime in this town without the aid of real police detectives. Frictional Characters receives a CGRB rating of 3.7 stars and a reader's reaction of liked. I liked this story. So, with that being said, stay tuned for the reader's reaction. Okay, so hey, I really did enjoy the story. I enjoyed reading the story. It was really good. I liked that it was simplistic and easy to read, and dedicated readers could probably read this book in a single day, maybe two, depending on how much time you spent actually sitting down and reading it at a time. But it can be read in a single day. Easy title. But, oh, and can we give the police a little bit more credit? Can we stop describing stories like this one as an investigation? We really didn't get to see the investigation side of this story because it's about the main characters. Now, we find out that Jonas has a lot of history in this town. He has a lot of history in this town. And he left. His father died. And the house that he lived in was supposed to be passed on to his sister Flora. But for some reason, he inherits the house and he moves back to town. And when he gets to town, he doesn't fit. He doesn't jive with the rest of the town. And so he has no job. He has no income. He's down on his luck. He has the house. He came back because the house is paid for. But how does he make a living? Well, unfortunately, Jonah's father, Mr. Merchant, was a town drunk. and spent most of his time in the local bars, in and out of all the little, hubbubs around town, and found himself in possession of a lot of personal information over almost all of the local town members. I mean, this is small town stuff, right? Small town stuff. So when he passes, but I mean, prior to him passing, right? Prior to him passing, he used to get his son involved. He broke down and he would share the stuff. I mean, his little drunken spells after coming home, blah, 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 whatever. His son, Jonas, now has a lot of the information. So what does he do? He decides to start blackmailing the whole town. Everybody, right? So with the way that this story went down, it's so frustrating that and should I call her a local busybody? I don't know. I think so. But Ann Beckett, sweet person, loved by so many, involved with so many, because she's known, because she's in the public library, which is grand central of this small town. Everybody goes and reads. This is an older community. These are mature people. So they know her, right? She solves the case. Why were the police detectives not able to solve the case? I mean, they figured it out, but they figured it out as she's explaining it to them at the end of the story. It takes a little while for it to unfold. So how is it that the neighborhood busybody was able to gather more information than the investigating police officer in this tiny, small town? That's what threw me off a little bit. I loved it. It was a great story. But can we find an easier way to conclude the story while involving the police? Or just have them, I don't know. I don't know how to work that. So here you have a story where the main antagonist has just about the whole town wrapped around his fingers, right? And how did he have them all tied up? Blackmail. He was blackmailing them all. And I mean everybody. And so there had to have been people out there that were, in high positions. Maybe he didn't blackmail the police, but I don't know. Maybe he stayed away from the blackmailing them. I'm pretty sure they had some bad stories and secrets that they didn't want to share. But when you're blackmailing so many folks, and now as the story is unraveling, you're beginning to understand that, okay, well, now you're a suspect. Now you're a suspect. Now you're a suspect. But there were still so many secrets, and Mr. Wilson was one of them, and he was very quiet. The strange part about Mr. Wilson is he was this really straight up, upstanding guy. I mean, like, he was like Mr. Clean, had the perfect life, was the best guy, was polite, he was loved by so many, and we're finding out that, first of all, he was the one to find the body. And when he did, he, kind of wandered off and just went into this little closed off session where I'm not going to talk to nobody. I don't want to interact. So now I was kind of, I'm out in front and being very nice, but now I'm all withdrawn and I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm sitting in my office and everybody can tell that there's something wrong now. But with that situation, it's kind of crazy. So was the police officer, the main detective, was he exempt from being extorted? Right? I don't know. They did not reveal that in the story, that the cop was involved. But perhaps all the gossiping made it easier, right? But I don't understand that if you work so hard to keep your extortion a secret from the police, once you became a suspect, why not? Ann Beckett found out most of this information from people talking about it. But prior to the police finding out about it, they're talking about it to the point where Ann is figuring it out. Well, if that's the case, you're already caught up in the middle of it. Just tell the, I don't know. It was really weird. I don't know how small. I've never really been a part of a small town. I've been part of small neighborhoods, and I grew up as a Cree kid. But anybody that has the experience of being this story was so well written from the perspective of a small town individual living there that there's no way in the world you can't feel some kind of connection to the story. And so I really did actually enjoy it. And I want to thank you for taking your time out to review this book with me. And yes, it received a reader's reaction of light. I really did enjoy this story. So until next time, you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, keep reading.